Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You are live. And there's my green light. We're connected. Oh, goody goody. So, welcome to another Authortube video. We're going to talk about this Booktube controversy that I got led into and made a comment on. And so I don't want to type a bunch of stuff because, like, I'm an author and I have to type stuff all the time. So if I don't want to type it, I'm just gonna, and it's long-winded. I'm just gonna make a video from now on. And if you want to get notifications of those videos, you should subscribe below and ring that bell. That's how you do it on YouTube. You say ring that bell, wink, fake gun. Yeah. Oh, and a horse click. All right, we're really popping that bell ringing. All right. So anyway, oh, I got ahead of myself. We're gonna get to that in a second. All right. We're also gonna talk a little bit about the YouTube search algorithms as well, because that's one of the things that I went to college for, to study artificial intelligence. I don't even have a minor in English or writing or anything like that. It's all math and science. Neurology. Is there a booktube fringe? So this is Regina St. Clair. She is the author of I want to say the Dark Hollow series is the name of it, I believe. It takes place in Maine, and there's like witchcraft and werewolves and ghosts, and it's a YA novel. And I don't read a lot of YA novels, but I do read some, and hers are pretty good. So even though it was a YA novel, I was not completely disinterested, and she was reading my book on Wattpad. And we got to know each other a little bit, and she's pretty cool. And she lives in Maine. She's all gothy, and anyway, she did this video, and is there a booktube fringe, in response to this guy, Bald Book Geek, male booktubers slash discussion, in which he and I have links for both of these in the description if you want to watch these videos. I'm not going to play them at all. I'm just mentioning that they exist. So anyway, he was talking about diversity and how there's this kind of like, I don't know, he kind of phrased it kind of funny. He was talking, he made it sound like it was like segregated diversity or false diversity or whatever. And then we have Regina St. Clair was responding to him because I guess they're friends. And she put in her thoughts and feelings, and she was kind of more focusing on the YA booktubers that have the 100K plus subscribes. Um, and yeah, and so I said it sounds like the booktube community is reflective of the traditional publishing community, right? So, and she said, do you mean the whole YA thing? And this video is a response to that, because I'm not going to type that out. I'm going to make this video and then post in the reply. Yes, what they're talking about is the YA middle class young women, which there's several of them, no one in particular, but they happen to all have a lot of likes, right? So yes, if you have money for a nice camera, or good audio, or a nice background, you actually have a living room, when the background isn't my bed with stuff on it. you know, you're gonna get more hits because it looks more professional. You know, you have some decent, maybe natural light or something. Um, Something that looks more like a set. You know, you're gonna get more hits, right? And we won't even get into the, you know, if you're a pretty young girl thing. You know, lots of makeup on or whatever, or you know, you look like a goth model or something. I'm trying to think of who all these people are, you know. But overall, so okay, let me talk about my relationship to BookTube. So I do AuthorTube, and I only do that because I write books, right? And so I'll also watch a lot of AuthorTube, right? So Regina does AuthorTube and BookTube, but she mostly does BookTube because she reads a lot. Now me, I don't read a lot. I like to read. I like reading books. Reading books is fun, and I'll probably do another video on that. Um, but I don't watch a lot of BookTube because I don't read a lot of books, right? There's reasons for that. It's not that like I said, it's not that I don't like reading books, but if I'm doing a lot of writing, I find that if I'm also reading a book while I am writing a book, that the book I'm reading will influence the voice of the book I'm writing, right? So unless I want the piece I'm writing to have a certain tone, I'm not going to. I'm going to try to avoid reading things if all possible. I'll watch something unrelated. I'll watch Netflix, TV show, or play a video game. You know, stuff that'll inspire my creativity, but not necessarily give me kind of any voice or characters or story structure or anything like that. Um, I don't want to pick up anybody else's pacing, or you know, I want my craft to be as much me as possible. When I'm not writing, then I take, you know, in between writing things, which I haven't had that space in a while. I'll read something, or if I can find something that's like what I'm writing, then I'll read that. So um, like I recently read um, Big Fish. Um, I read Big Fish because I was more interested in um, the idea of um, a memoir, right? I had a friend, and I was helping her with her memoir, and I was reading her memoir, and so I was looking at Big Fish as an example of a more fictionalized narrative memoir, right? And that kind of idea. You know, I was recently read Captivity by Jonathan Gilman. It was another book I was working on. So that's a pioneer romance, not the Wagoneer pioneers, but the colonists, pioneers, colonial pioneers, and that, and that was more of looking at the romance genre in particular. I've got another mystery book that I'm reading to look at mysteries. Can't even remember the name of it or the author. It's just I remember the tagline was it's a bibliophile mystery, so it's a mystery about a bookbinder, right? Or the bookbinder is the detective, and it's like book-related murders. Um, so I was looking at that just to kind of, you know, for another piece that I'm writing, the Dakota, Wyoming mysteries. And so, you know, I'll always have whatever it is I'm reading will be influenced or is something that I want to influence my writing. So I'm doing Stephen King right now because I'm doing a time period piece. Is 1162 or whatever it is, the one that recently got made into an Amazon show. So that's how it works for me. So I sometimes I'll watch BookTube, especially if you're doing horror, because I like doing horror or urban fantasy or whatever you want to call it. Um, Speculative fiction stuff. So if you cover that sort of stuff, yeah, I'll come in and check out your BookTube to find a book that I will read maybe 2-3 years from now, um, at some point. Add it to my list on Goodreads. But for the most part, I don't watch a lot of BookTube, and when I do, it's usually because there's some kind of controversy. Like there was a BookTube controversy with one of these young women. I don't know if I see her on here, um, but she was like a middle class 20-something-year-old girl, and she was pretty popular, over 100 subscribers, and she was saying about how she didn't think libraries were necessary, right? Because we all had our phones now, right? And a lot of people were really pissed about that. That she was basically this young middle class, uh, college age woman who was saying that we don't need libraries, and there's a lot of people like, hey, we need libraries. We don't all have the latest Apple phone and a constant internet connection, and some of us just use it for community purposes or whatever. So that was, during that controversy, I kind of went and checked that out. They're filming a movie outside, which you can probably hear in the background. But anyway, what was I saying? Okay, so let's look at diversity here. Okay, let's start off here. So this is 1 month ago. So this is the topic at hand, which is, so this guy was talking about, that black women get less views and men get even less views, and then there was black men don't get any views or don't even have a booktube that he can find. Um, and that was basically his thing. Like I said, link below if you want to watch the video. And then I guess there was a woman who complained about him and was saying that on Twitter, which, imagine a woman complaining on Twitter about something a man said. But she was saying that BookTube was for women, and that he basically shouldn't even have a, 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 a BookTube. That he was invading their space, or something like that. I didn't see the actual tweet, so all hearsay. I don't even know the person's name. I don't care. Um, but anyway, that's one of the things he was talking about. And so let's go to the search engine now. So because this is like a 1 month old thing, so I typed in booktuber. All right, so this is pretty recently, and booktube a month ago, man, that's still really controversial. 3 months, 6 months, but a month ago, that's like hot off the presses. So whenever something like this is trending, like the YouTube algorithm is amazingly complex. Speaking about AI now, it's amazingly complex. They can tweak it and push it and override it to a certain extent, but for the most part, it runs on its own. And it takes in a large number of bits of information and uses that to calculate what it is that you want to watch. Well, I just watched two videos on this topic. So it's like, hey, these videos you might want to watch. You just watched two white booktubers talking about booktube diversity. Here's two black women. Maybe you should watch those videos. That seems like a good thing to me. But these are bumped, right? They're pushed to the top because of my interest in the topic and that YouTube thinks I should expand my cultural boundary, which everybody should. It used to be a lot worse, and you might say, well, how does YouTube know that these people are people of color? Well, they have software that will detect skin tone. It's and let me tell you something. Okay, so they have this thing, and it's called a information bubble, and it's when you're pulling in like information. So you saw this, so here's some information that's like it, right? And so how detailed in the likeness the AI is depending on what you train it to do, or it trains itself to do. Um, and so one time I was investigating the AI of YouTube and how it worked, and there's a lot of things you do, but what I did is I created a brand new account, and when I got my choices, right, to start me off with my new account, I only watched videos of black people, people of color, dark skinned people, whatever. And just kept doing that. And soon enough, all the suggested videos, all of them, they were all black people, right? Now, on my normal YouTube, which is what this is, as you can see, it's very, very pale. You get a splash color here and there, but it's very, very pale for the most part. Okay, and this is not um, an accurate. This is what you have to understand. This is not an accurate representation of what is available on YouTube. Okay, this is personalized for me from what I watch. It thinks that this is what I will want to see. Okay, but even in that, you can see there's definitely, I mean, we got a kid here. We got definitely some people of some different origins. Um, there is a good clump of diversity here. You know, you got you got all different sizes and colors and whatnot. But there's quite a bit of the white folks. All right. Now, when I was on my black YouTube, right, and it was the whole everything. It was like mostly black, little couple of white people, right, and so part of what YouTube is doing with its algorithm is it's trying to say, this is the part of YouTube that's like you, right? So, or this is the part of YouTube that you like, right? Because it's big. It's a big, big space, and you'd never be able to navigate all of it. It'd be impossible without the help of the AI, right? If you go on to one of these startup video sites like BitChute or whatever, it's so hard to find any content because there's no AI. It's like, here it is, and you have to like go through it, and you're like, oh my God, this is insanity. Um, so it's doing its best to give you the content it thinks that you want, and what you do on YouTube will it will help the AI learn about you and specify that content for you. All right. So if you make YouTube think you're a black person, it will give you the content that other black people like, okay, to some degree. Now, that's how it used to be, and we're talking like almost, close to 10 years ago, right? So somewhere between 5 and 10 years ago, it was like this. Now, they use the same algorithm, but now they have basically a diversity pepper, spice, the garnish, if you will, to the old content, right? To make sure you're not try to coach people out of um, this information bubble that YouTube kind of put us in, right? Because it's still, again, it's all based off of what I click. So if I don't click on being I don't want to say, let's just do can we do a normal one? Books by YouTubers.
It's Olivia, and at the moment, my two most anticipated books of 2019 are Peace and Turmoil by Elliot Brooks and Again But Better by Christine Riccio. And as you can assume from the title, these are both books by booktubers. Just know it's going to be like a lot of all over the place thoughts, but there are two things that wanted to get out the way first.
Alright, I don't want to watch this whole video. I just wanted to. Alright, so we subscribed to her, right? And now, I'm pretty much going to get the same hits for right now. But if I continue to push towards certain things, I'll get certain things back. Is basically what I'm saying. And so, to get to the YA thing now. Okay, so obviously, the more professional you look, the better ratings you're going to get. The more money you have, the more professional it's going to look. Okay, and so if if male readers are not making as much money as female readers, or whatever the case may be, you might have a room that looks, a set that looks like mine. It's, a sheet over a window and a sleeping bag on my bed because I live in a terrible place. So anyway, I do my best. That's why I have the circle, so you don't have to look at my mess. And I know what you're saying. Well, it doesn't matter how poor you are, you can clean. Well, I have no place to put anything. That's the problem. That's why everything's all over the place. I need like 2 of these rooms, just to hold my bare necessities. So anyway, getting back on topic. YA. Okay, so let's talk about why YA booktubers are so popular on top of all these other things. So the reason why is because YA is popular. Right? So if you're doing, if okay, so it's kind of what's called this in a system is a feedback, right? So we have a feedback system, a feedback loop. So YA books are popular, right? Because kids have more time to read than adults. They also probably spend more time reading because part of their job is reading, is school being their job. And so they're more apt to read. They're more likely to have books. Their parents are more, are very few parents discourage their children from reading if they have an interest in reading. And children, teens, whatever. Books are not very expensive. If you're poor, you can get them used or on sale or from the library. By the way, that just reminds me, apparently, anything with an ISBN number, if you ask your local library, they should be able to get it for you. So if you don't want to buy one of my books, you can just go down to the library, say, hey, this is the ISBN number, I'd like to read one of Ken's books. Can you get this for me? It might take him a couple weeks for it to get there, but if it's in the library system, there's a chance you could get your hands on it. So you should look up my book ISBN, and you should do that. But anyway, um, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, YA. So YA is pretty popular, especially this this Twilight thing and this Harry Potter thing, and so let's make some movies based off of these books. The Hunger Games, which is actually a really good book. I'm going to do another video on why you should read The Hunger Games. But like, these are some good books. Let's make them into movies, right? So they make them into movies, and somebody, all of a sudden, everybody's like, "Oh, they made a movie out of this book. It must be good." So this is part of human psychology too, by the way. It's not just YouTube's AI. The more you hear something or see something, the more important you think it is. It's part of the reason why people fall in love with each other. It's important to see each other every day. That's why long distance relationships don't work out as well as non-long distance ones. So anyway, the more you see something, the more important it is, and the more likely it is to be the correct choice if you have a choice to make. So anyway, so they're like, okay, well, let's, this movie doesn't come out for like another year. Let's read the book. Or, oh, I saw the movie and I liked the movie. Let's read the book. Or, I don't watch movies, but I heard they made a movie out of this book, and I like to read books, so I'm just gonna read the book and not watch the movie because I'm like that, right? I'm not like that. I'm just saying as an example. And so so then the book starts making more money, and then the people who publish books are like, oh, this book's making more money. These YA books are making money. Let's publish more YA books, right? And the agents are like, they tell the agents, we're looking for YA books, and the agents are like, well, we're looking for YA books, and so then you have more YA books. Well, YA books then become more popular, more people read them. The more people read them, the more they make, so on and so forth. This is like a feedback. This is the feedback loop, right? And so eventually it gets so saturated in the market that everybody's like, "Oh, I'm so sick of YA books. Anything but YA." That's pretty much how I am. There, like I said, there are some YA books I like, but most of them, I'm just like, this is for kids. And there's nothing wrong if you like kids books. I like middle grade stuff. I like Alice in Wonderland, Pirates of the Caribbean, and all that stuff. So it's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying you can get sick of it, because it tends to be formulaic, especially if you have publishers who are all looking for the next this. They want something that's like that, but not too much like it so that they don't get sued, and not so far from it that it's not going to make them money. Um, it's this is the concept here. So anyway, so this creates a feedback loop, so on and so forth, to get oversaturation, and then you have a market crash. And so good ways to look at this is like in the 80s, horror, right? And then in the 90s, it was sci-fi, right? And then 2000, it was YA. And YA is kind of diverse enough that it hasn't crashed yet, because you'll have it's not a pure genre, it's an age range. So you have YA paranormal romance, you have YA magic, you have YA sci-fi, right? Like the 100. I haven't read the book yet, but I plan on it. I'm gonna go down to the library and ask for it. And So, so it hasn't crashed because it'll be able to keep itself afloat, but eventually everybody's going to be like, we're sick of hearing about teenagers. Um, we were hoping that new adult was going to take off and be kind of like, that was the idea, was that the YA readers would grow up and they'd want something in between YA and adult. And that's where new adult came in. And I like new adult. I wish it had taken off. I think new adult is great. It's not as stuck up as adult, but it's not as juvenile as YA is. But it didn't take off, and so we're still stuck in YA. So that was like a failed market prediction. They thought the audience would evolve, they didn't, so we're still in YA. And so because YA is the most popular, it also means that you're going to have the most viewers, right? So if you're doing YA and you're you're going to have more people who are interested in the books you're reviewing, and so you're going to get more subscribers, right? I don't really do much YA at all, which is why I don't have a lot of subscribers. I think that's part of it. There's other factors too, uh, and that has to do with how long these YouTubers have been on. I know some of these people seem like young women, right? But a lot of these women have been YouTubing, booktubing since the start of it, right? So some of these girls who are already been out of college for a couple years, when they started YouTubing, they were like, where'd that girl go? Is she gone? There's that little kid. Well, anyway, somewhere she was around here somewhere. But anyway, some of these girls started when they were in middle school, right? And doing their booktubes when they were like kids, right? And they've been doing it for like 6, 7, 8 years. And that's a long time, and they didn't get a lot of subscribers for a whole long time. Part of the reason why I have low subscribers is I'm constantly changing what my content is about. I don't do one thing for 8 years. We could probably go. They have tools on here. Let's see if we can use the tools. Filter. Uh, relevance, upload date. Um, they have a way to reverse it. I want it to go the other direction. So the oldest first. Yeah, so YouTube, that's another thing, is they tend to focus on recent stuff unless something has had a whole bunch of hits, and then so it goes popularity first and then recentness um, is part of the. So okay, so now we're looking at the most recent uploads, and a lot of these, surprise surprise, are kids, right? So a lot of kids are starting off their booktubes, right? Because they're reading books, they're in school, they've got a lot of books to read, they enjoy reading books, right? So you might even want to say it's not a women's thing, it's like a kid's thing, right? You could say that. I mean, there's a lot of ways you could look at the space of booktube. Okay. And these are also the people who are watching those booktubers who do have 150,000 subscribers. Okay, so think about it that way. But I hope this has helped explain how the YouTube AI works and why you get these feedback loops, which is basically what's happening. So yeah, and if you type, and here's the other thing too, like if I type in male booktuber, all right, So we got a couple of dudes, right? But also have some females. But notice what we're getting isn't that it's not returning guys because they're guys, right? It's returning guys because they have the word male in their booktube, right? And they're talking about where are all the male booktubers, right? Male booktuber tag, male, um, and a lot of these are guys. You want to know where your male booktubers are? Here they are. You want someone to find you as a booktuber specifically because you're male? You have to do a male booktuber tag where you talk about the fact that you're a male booktuber if that's what you want to bring into the table, you know? Um, like here's a question, like bald. Here's my question for bald book geek. Is it important that you are a male booktuber? Like watching your video, are you going to talk about how these books somehow relate to or reflect to maleness and of being a man? If not, then who cares if you're a man or not? It doesn't matter, most people who read the book are reading the book because of what the book says, not because of who the reader is. You know what I mean? Um, the book stands on its own. Um, I don't read Regina St. Clair's books because we're friends. Although it helped me discover her books, plural, because we have friendly interactions. But that's not why I read that. I have plenty of people I know who I have friendly interactions with, that have books, and I don't read them because they're not good. Um, but hers are, so I read her books. Um, you know, um, but I don't read her books because she's a woman. I don't read her books because of the books she reads, although she does read some pretty cool books. Um, I read her books because of the content of the book. And you know, you will never, your your perspective can help, your perspective based on your identity can help other people understand the book from different perspectives other than their own. Um, and when they read or reread, generally the first time you read it, you're looking at it from your own perspective. But as you reread books, you will discover new things based on things that have changed about your perspective since the last time you read the book. And so if you wanted to bring in identity into book review, that would be a good use of that. Um, but I can't really say that there's any book out there that exists that I would feel a truthful statement could be made that I should, I will enjoy it because I'm a man, right? I don't believe that about any any book. I don't feel, um, I haven't actually read Moby Dick, right? I guess I'm choosing it because it has the word Moby in it. Um, but Moby Dick, the book, I've read little bits of it, but it could be said that, or I've heard it said that Moby Dick is a masculine book, downright homoerotic at times, right? Um, and um, that that homoerotic in its manliness, right? Is what I mean, because it's just so it's men, men, men. All right, so but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to enjoy reading Moby Dick. I might. It actually does sound pretty good. I should get around to it at some point, but I think I read The Old Man and the Sea and I didn't really like it. I think that's part of what's putting me off. I maybe I should reread Old Man and the Sea because I was like 15 the last time I read it. I don't know. We'll have to see. Um, but uh, but Fight Club, right? It's very masculine, and we could get into Kinsey scales, but basically, when I say something is hyper masculine, I'm using the Kinsey scale, and when I say that, it's like almost homosexual in nature because it's the ultimate of pure manatee, right? Pure manatee. Um, that and I did. I liked Fight Club. I did. So it's not that it could be. There's not a book that's too male for me. It's just that's not what I'm going to the book for. You know, I don't I don't go to a book to learn about the struggle of the white man. Because I know what the struggle of the white man is. I'm a white man. I deal with it every day. I don't need to read a book about it. But it's more about, is there interesting characters? What's the very specific situation that they're dealing with? The world, the world building. Like, these are things that I go to a book for. It has nothing to do with gender or race or whatever. One of my favorite books is called Fuzzy Odyssey, and it is about little monkey cat people that are like this big, and they're like like almost Ewok like in their appearance, um, but they're much smaller, and they're spacefaring people, and their spaceship crashes on this planet, and they lose their technological skills, and they seed the planet with their race, and then one day the humans come along, and the humans are human size, and yeah, and the humans see them as animals, and they don't realize that they're an intelligent, sentient species, because they're so different than them. Um, they just think they're animals because they have fur and whatever, and they're small, and they don't seem to have any kind of language. Like, the humans can't understand their language, and they don't think they're really speaking. And but then eventually, the two manage to talk to each other, and they have to have a court case, and then you've got these little furry creatures are defending themselves in court through a translator, and it's a very cool story, but it's not about people at all. It's about a sentient creatures, but it's completely unlike me. And that's speaking of which, all right, I'm gonna do one more plug, and then uh we will we'll call it a video. So, Wisecrack. So if you haven't checked out Wisecrack, they have a very specific show that I love, that's really funny, and you should check it out. They do a lot of philosophy stuff. 8-bit philosophy is cool, but that's not the one I'm looking for. I'm looking for, let's try playlists, because I guess they haven't made any in a while. Thug Notes is great. Check out Thug Notes, but Earthling Cinema. Definitely check out Thug Notes. All right, so Earthling Cinema. Here we go.
Greetings, and welcome to Earthling Cinema, where we examine the last remaining artifacts of a once proud culture and try to understand what human lives were like before their planet was destroyed. I'm your host, Garrick's Wormuloid. This week's film is Fight Club, starring the humans Brad Pitt and Edward Norton.
All right, so anyway, so you get the idea. I'm not gonna show the whole thing. You can check it out. I guess I'll have to add this to the description. So this is a show that looks at movies and other media stuff, from the point of view of an alien race living, I'm guessing, hundreds to thousands of years in the future. And it's absolutely brilliant. It's one of, it's one of my one of my favorite things to watch, because it abstracts things. It takes away, you know, these these concepts that we all kind of take for granted of humanity, right? And what if somebody didn't know anything about humanity, and all they knew about humanity was from the movie Fight Club? What would they think about humans, right? And it's a great concept, and it's totally cool. You guys should all check it out. So anyway, I hope this cleared up everything. How long was this? 46 minutes. Dang, can I talk for a while? I'm a rambling man. All right, so that's it. I think I'm done with my videos for the day. I actually have some work to do. What time is it? 3:48. I should get going. So cheers, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to get notifications to watch the live stream. And you can talk in the chat and help keep me on track. All right, cheers.